Exposed. The incredible truth behind the girl who promised to heal a blind millionaire's heart. Clara stood behind the counter of the diner, her apron stained with a splash of coffee, and her hair pulled into a messy bun. She was known for her infectious smile, a bright spot in the quaint small town where everyone knew everyone. But beneath her cheerful demeanor lay an aching resolve. Every morning at dawn, she woke up not just for a paycheck, but for her dream of becoming a nurse. Each dollar earned was a step closer, but life had a way of throwing curveballs. Her ailing grandmother, bedridden and full of stories from a life well lived, needed her now more than ever. In the hustle and bustle of balancing work and her grandmother's care, Clara's life took an unexpected twist one fateful day. Ethan, a reclusive millionaire, walked into the diner searching for solace. His dark sunglasses attempted to hide the pain etched onto his handsome face, the loss of sight having claimed both his vision and his will to live. Rumors buzzed in town about the blind man with a broken heart, but Clara saw something else, a glimmer of hope that just needed a spark. Their first conversation was tentative, full of awkward laughter and unspoken pain. And in that moment, Clara made a promise to help him rediscover joy. Day by day, their bond grew, with Clara guiding Ethan through laughter and quiet moments, sharing the sunlit joys that life still offered. Each time she shared a forgotten tale from a child's innocence, Ethan's laughter echoed through the diner like music. Tiny transformations began to ripple through him, and Clara's heart swelled with a new kind of happiness. But love and friendship in a small town often came with strings attached, an unwritten rulebook of societal expectations. Whispers of disapproval danced through the air like thick fog, casting shadows on their blossoming connection. Clara's co-workers exchanged glances steeped in prejudice, while townsfolk murmured in judgment. A waitress and a millionaire? What right did she have to cross that line? Just as sparks flew between them, an unfortunate misunderstanding sent shockwaves through their delicate lives. Clara was accused of seeking fortune through Ethan's affection. The whispers intensified, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. It was a moment of gut-wrenching impact, revealing the bitter truth that Ethan's past and the town's fears could so easily smother their friendship. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Clara sought refuge in her grandmother's wisdom as the weight of judgment bore down on her. You have to stay true to who you are, dear, her grandmother whispered, her voice warm like a cozy blanket. Clara's resolve flickered, but the flame remained. What she felt for Ethan was real. It was more than a promise. It was a lifeline for both of them. In a world filled with walls, could the power of love and resilience break through the barriers that divided them? Clara stood at a crossroads, fully aware of the waves crashing against her decision. As she navigated her way through the tangled emotions, one thing became clear. Their journey was only beginning. The question lingered in the air: could love truly heal the wounds left by loss and prejudice? Or would their separate paths weave into a tapestry too torn to mend? Clara stirred coffee in a chipped mug, her mind flooded with the day's whispers. As the steam curled upwards, it felt like a metaphor for the rising tension around her. The diner buzzed with morning chatter, yet a deafening silence swallowed her thoughts. She stole glances at her co-workers. Their disapproving looks stung more than any harsh word. What are they thinking? She wondered. Would they ever see her as more than just the waitress who crossed an invisible line? The door swung open, and Ethan stepped inside, sunshine breaking through the clouds. He wore an unexpected smile. Clara's heart raced. He was a breath of fresh air in her stifling reality. He approached the counter, tapping his cane with a rhythm that echoed his tentative steps. "Good morning, Clara," he said, his voice smooth and rich like dark chocolate. "I missed our chats." "I missed them too, Ethan," she replied, masking her inner conflict with a grin. Even as her heart ached, she felt a rush of warmth at his presence. They shared a table, and the world outside faded into the background. Clara found herself lost in stories of her childhood mischief on the baseball field, late-night escapades with her friends under the stars. With each word, she painted pictures for Ethan, who listened with rapt attention as if these moments were pearls strung together. "Those were beautiful memories," he murmured, a softness in his tone that wrapped around her. "How do you see the world so brightly?" Clara smiled, but her own thoughts cut deep. "It's not always easy. Sometimes it feels like the shadows follow, you know?" Ethan nodded, acknowledging the darkness that laced their lives, but there was determination in his gaze. "Maybe together, we can push them back." Just then, the bell above the diner door jingled as Clara's boss stepped in. His expression soured when he spotted the two of them, eyebrows knitted together. Clara's stomach twisted with anxiety. She wanted to reassure Ethan what they had would withstand the murmurs. Yet, the cycle of judgment never ceased. It only loomed larger. Later that evening, as Clara returned home, she found her grandmother sitting in her favorite chair, the soft glow of the lamp lighting her face. "You're troubled, sweet pea. What weighs on your heart?" Clara hesitated, the words tumbling like pebbles. "It's Ethan. People are talking like I'm out to get his money." "But Clara, from the depths of a heart comes the brightest love," her grandmother said, her eyes sparkling with wisdom. "Don't you dare let their fears smother what is good. Trust your instincts." Those words dug deep. Clara felt a flicker of hope amidst doubts that had clouded her mind. But could she stand against the tide? Later, as she lay in her bed, the stars twinkling through the window, she reached for her phone and stared at Ethan's number. The very thought of calling him brought her comfort, but another wave of fear crashed over her. Was she ready for the backlash that might follow? What if the town's whispers became shouts? Clara could hear the distant echo of judgment, but she felt something stirring inside her. The question remained, could she fight for love when the world seemed intent on pulling them apart? With a bold resolve, she took a deep breath. It was time to choose. As Clara dialed his number, anticipation mixed with hope, leaving her on the edge of a definitive moment. Would this call bring them closer or push them further apart? The phone rang in Clara's ear, a sound both exhilarating and terrifying. Each beep felt like a countdown. What would happen when he answered? Would he feel the same spark? Or had everything she'd imagined been a fantasy? "Hello?" His voice came through warmly, instantly easing the knot in her stomach. "It's me, Clara," she said softly, her heart racing. "I was hoping maybe we could talk." "Of course. I was just thinking about you," Ethan replied, and Clara could hear the smile in his voice. It fueled her determination. They agreed to meet at their usual spot, a patch of green in the small park down the street. Clara's hands trembled as she prepared to leave her apartment. Would they be able to face the prying eyes of the world together today? As she walked, every step felt heavy with consequence. She could already picture the gossiping townsfolk, eyes rolling, whispers swirling. Why is she with him? Just for the money, they'd say. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Ethan had shown her something she hadn't felt in years: joy. When she arrived at the park, she spotted Ethan under their favorite oak tree, sunlight dappling through the leaves. He looked up and waved, a genuine look of happiness lighting his face. Instantly, her worries faded. "Hey," he greeted, leaning on his cane. "You look beautiful." "Thanks. You're not too shabby yourself," she replied, grinning. Settling on a bench, they began to talk about everything, the mundane details of their days, their favorite movies, and dreams for the future. Ethan shared stories of his travels before his accident, and Clara listened in awe. She admired his resilience, how he never let his blindness dim his spirit. Yet, amid the laughter, Clara felt a growing heaviness. "Ethan, I want to tell you something. About the way people are looking at us." "Let them look," he interrupted, his tone firm but reassuring. "You can't control what others think, Clara. Just focus on what we feel." "But I'm scared," she admitted, looking down at her lap, fingers fidgeting. "I don't want them to think ill of you or me." "Why do you care so much?" He pushed gently. "Our happiness is what matters here. Besides, love is worth standing up for." His words struck a chord deep inside her, igniting a fiery conviction. She had to believe in their connection. But just as she gathered the courage to respond, a familiar voice broke through the moment. Marissa, the town's self-appointed gossip queen, was approaching. "Look who it is. The blind millionaire and his waitress, right?" Marissa smirked, her words like daggers. Clara bristled, but Ethan held her gaze. Marissa, I do appreciate some respect while trying to enjoy a nice day, he replied coolly, unfazed by the jab. Oh please, she scoffed. How can you even think this is real? You're just a charity case for her. The anger bubbled up within Clara, hot and fierce. I'm not looking for charity. I'm here because I want to be. Ethan's hand squeezed hers, grounding her. She realized in that moment this was her fight, not with them, but for them. Let us show them, he said quietly, determination glinting in his eyes. But Clara hesitated, her heart clashing with her fear. Show them what? Just then, as they locked eyes, she understood. Maybe it was time to reveal their truth, to shout it from the rooftops, if necessary. With uncertainty still lingering, she took a deep breath. Ethan, what if we told the world exactly how we feel? A smile broke across his face. Maybe then, we'd finally silence the whispers. As they leaned closer, leaning into a rush of boldness, she wondered if this was the moment they would seize their fate together. But just as hope surged inside her, Clara caught a movement from the corner of her eye. Another local had overheard them, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the backlash was just beginning. What ripple effects would their declaration have, and were they really ready to contend with the storm that was sure to follow? Ethan's fingers tightened around Clara's, a silent pact forming between them. She took a deep breath, a whirlwind of determination and fear surging through her. The whispering winds swirled around them, as she tried to shake off Marissa's biting words, reminding herself that she had something real to hold on to. Clara, Ethan's voice brought her back. What's on your mind? You're drifting. She matched his gaze, feeling the weight of their world pressing in. I want to fight for us. I don't want to hide anymore. But what if they don't understand? What if it only makes things worse? His smile faltered for a split second, but then it returned, even brighter. Sometimes, the hardest battles are worth fighting. We can't let fear dictate our choices. Let us show them that love knows no boundaries. Her heart pounded against her chest, the warmth of his hand anchoring her. Okay, then let us do it. Together. Just as they exchanged a newfound resolve, Marissa piped up again. Oh, so you really are planning to make this a spectacle? How sweet. I can't wait to see how it ends. Fury ignited within Clara once more, but she took a breath to quell it. This was their moment. Ethan. She turned to him, her voice steadying. What if we go public? Share our story on social media, or at the coffee shop, the local paper, maybe? Ethan nodded slowly, thoughtful. It's a good idea, but are we ready for the fallout? The attention? We may be inviting more judgment. I don't care. I want them to know the truth. Like how you see the world the way you make me feel, she urged, desperation seeping through. In that instant, standing in defiance against Marissa and the potential backlash, it felt like everything hung in the balance. From afar, she could see townspeople casting furtive glances their way, sensing the tension around them escalating. You have to trust in us, Ethan. I believe in this. Ethan chuckled lightly, an unexpected warmth flooding through the moment. Then so do I. All right, Clara. Let us do it. Let us claim our love one way or another. As they stood, a sudden rush of excitement coursed through Clara, mixed with horror at what lay ahead. To step into the open was both liberating and terrifying. Marissa rolled her eyes, trying hard to mask her irritation, but the flicker of concern was unmistakable. Clara looked her directly in the eye. You'll see, Marissa. We're going to prove you wrong. With Ethan's arm wrapped around her shoulder, they began walking toward a small group of onlookers, their hearts pounding a steady rhythm of bravery beneath their resolve. They would face whatever came next together. Just as they approached the crowd, the atmosphere shifted. Murmurs grew louder, tension crackling in the air. Suddenly, Clara spotted a familiar face, James, her boss, stepping closer. His eyes locked onto her and widened in disbelief. What are you doing? He asked, half aghast, half concerned. Just being honest, James, she replied, voice firm. It's time for everyone to know our truth. His eyebrows shot up, a mix of comprehension and disbelief etched on his face. Clara had never seen him flustered before. But beyond him, the curiosity in the crowd shifted to annoyance, and she sensed the tide beginning to turn. A wave of adrenaline rushed through her as she took a deep breath. Are we ready? She whispered to Ethan, and he nodded back at her, determination gleaming in his eyes. But before Clara could find her voice, another unexpected figure stepped into view. Anna, her closest friend, approached, concern written across her features. Clara, wait. You don't have to do this. There are easier paths. The crowd hushed, all attention now drawn to Clara. Panic surged through her. Was she making a mistake? With the world holding its breath, Clara realized this was it. There was no turning back now. No second chances. How would Ethan and she weather this storm? Would their love be enough to silence the noise and emerge triumphant? Or would it shatter under the pressure of everyone watching? Clara's heart raced as she stood before the crowd, the air thick with expectation. Each gaze was like a spotlight, magnifying her insecurities. She felt Ethan's warmth next to her, grounding her in that whirlwind of emotions. With her palms clammy and her throat dry, she took another deep breath, forcing herself to stay. Clara, James said, voice edged with worry. This isn't just about you and Ethan anymore. This is risky, and you know it. Her eyes flashed to Ethan, his unwavering support reassuring her. I understand, James. But isn't truth worth it? I can't hide anymore. From the sidelines, murmurs buzzed like angry bees. Clara's head spun. She had envisioned this moment as liberating, breaking free of chains, but now it felt like she was standing on a cliff, ready to jump into a stormy sea. Clara, Anna stepped forward, her face softening. You're my best friend. I just don't want to see you hurt. Please, think about this. Do you think I haven't thought about this? Clara snapped, her voice louder than she intended. Every sleepless night, every taunt from people like Marissa, I've thought about it. But I'm done being afraid. The crowd silenced, every eye glued to her. Taking Ethan's hand, she felt the electricity pulsating between them. If we let fear control us, we'll never know what we're capable of. I love him. I choose him. A wave of vulnerability washed over her as she turned to Ethan. And I want everyone to see that, she continued, her voice now steady. I want them to see love isn't always what they think it is. It's so much more. Ethan's voice was low, a soothing balm in the chaos. But the confidence she felt in that moment urged her on. Let me speak. She called out to the crowd. You think you know what love is, but do you really understand it? Everyone assumes it fits in their neat little boxes. But it doesn't. It's messy. It's ugly. It's beautiful. And it has a story worth telling. She looked around, searching for faces, noticing a mix of intrigue and skepticism. You all want a show? I'm here, bearing my vulnerable heart. I'm shedding the facade of fear. I want to let judgment cage me. Ethan squeezed her hand tighter, his strength surging into her. We're not just a story, he added, voice strong and clear. We're tools for change. We want to spark conversations, to challenge norms. If you truly care enough to judge, shouldn't you first listen? That struck a chord. Clara saw a few heads nodding in agreement, and a flicker of hope ignited deep within her. Maybe the tide could turn. This isn't about defiance, it's about authenticity. Her chest was warm with determination, a flame growing brighter. I refuse to back down. We're taking a step into the light, together. Just as she finished, a voice broke through the crowd. You don't know what you're asking for. It was Marissa. This will only bring you heartbreak. You think people will accept you? Clara's eyes met her challenge head-on. And I think I can live with their rejection. I know the risk. But this is my life. If I never try, I'll regret it forever, and I won't let fear dictate that regret. Suddenly, a hand shot up from the back. A woman stepped forward, her brow creased. What if you're wrong, Clara? What if this destroys everything? Tension rose again, but Clara felt emboldened. Then I'll own that too. No one has the right to silence our truth. It's not theirs to control. The crowd fell silent for a beat, a pregnant pause that felt heavy with significance. Clara's heart hammered with each second ticking by. But silence broke when someone shouted from the back, Stand strong, Clara. She blinked in surprise, feeling the warmth of support expand from the solitary voice, rippling through the crowd. Ethan met her gaze, his eyes fierce with unwavering faith. We can do this, Clara. As she looked out at the gathering crowd, a fire ignited within her. She wasn't sure how they would fare in the wake of what was unfolding, but there was no denying it. This moment had become bigger than either of them. The truth was out there, and it wouldn't be repressed. Ready? Ethan whispered, as Clara nodded, taking in the collective energy of the crowd. As she prepared to share more of their story, her voice trembled but was laced with newfound strength. But right then, a shout erupted from the crowd, a completely unexpected shout that shattered the moment. leaving everyone reeling in chaos. What are you hiding, Clara? Who are you, really? The question hung like a dense mist, thick with implications. Clara's heart sank, anxiety clawing at her insides. Who was she? Would revealing her truth lead to revelation or ruin? The stakes shot higher, and she wasn't sure what would happen next. Would she and Ethan fight to stay authentic, or would the pressure push them apart? Clara felt the weight of the crowd's eyes pierce through her, each person waiting for her answer like a coiled spring. The air was electric, charged with anticipation and uncertainty. She took a moment to breathe, her chest tightening with fear and adrenaline. Who am I? She echoed, her voice barely above a whisper initially. I'm just me. Just Clara. A girl who was tired of hiding. The question stirred something deep within her, something she had been wrestling with for a long time. I'm a girl who fought to find love in a world that wants to put me in a box, she stated, shaking off the initial shock. I'm the girl who stood back while people threw labels on me, who learned to wear them like a second skin, but I'm done with that now. Around her, some listeners looked surprised, while others exchanged skeptical glances. Marissa's triumphant smirk twisted her face, and for an agonizing moment, Clara felt the doubts creeping back in. Was this truly the path she wanted to forge? Ethan squeezed her hand again, anchoring her. His presence was unwavering, a silent promise that she wouldn't face this storm alone. Clara, just tell your truth, he urged softly, as if sensing her wavering resolve. She refocused on the audience, heart hammering. I want to tell you about love, about the struggles and beauty that come with it. I'm here because I love Ethan, and I want our story to matter. Yeah, but your story is nothing but a flash in the pan. Someone shouted from the back, their tone mocking. It was an affront, a challenge. But Clara met that challenge, buoyed by the support she had felt moments before. If my story is a flash in the pan, then so be it. But let me tell it how I want, without your judgment dictating my worth. We've all got stories, right? Why do we have to tear each other down instead of building each other up? Some faces in the crowd began nodding, a ripple of agreement quietly buzzing through the group. Clara felt like she was tapping into something collective, a movement beyond her, and Ethan a yearning for acceptance and understanding. Then, oddly enough, Clara caught a glimpse of a young girl at the front, eyes wide with curiosity and hope. Clara's breath hitched, realizing they weren't just fighting for themselves, but for voices that needed to be heard. She squared her shoulders, determination flooding her. I've learned that hiding doesn't protect you from pain. It just makes it worse. So, I'm standing before you, heart in hand, vulnerable and open. She glanced sideways at Ethan, who nodded encouragingly. I don't want to be known as the girl who dated the blind millionaire. I want to be known as the girl who brought courage and authenticity into love. I want to show you it's okay to embrace who you are. The tension shifted in the crowd. She could feel the air crackling with a new energy, a mixture of admiration and perhaps truth. Still, Marissa's voice was resolute. You really think that's enough? Can love conquer all the hate out there? Clara clenched her jaw. A part of her wanted to back down, but something inside her refused to let fear dictate once more. If we stop trying, we'll never find out. Love is powerful, but it's also scary. Scary enough to make you feel exposed. But maybe, just maybe, that's where real strength lies. Then a figure rose from the back. James stepped forward, hesitation flickering on his face as Clara met his gaze. I'm scared for you, Clara. I don't want to see you hurt, he confessed quietly, unmistakable vulnerability in his eyes. A beat of silence followed, and in that moment she realized everyone else was scared, too. The fear wasn't just hers, it was theirs as well. The crowd buzzed with murmurs, some rooting for her, others unsure. But she had learned something valuable. Sometimes, the strongest act of courage is simply showing up and being seen. Listen, she said, drawing in a sharp breath. No one knows what tomorrow holds. But when you fight for love, you allow the unexpected to happen. Who knows what kind of change we could spark together? The ground felt like it pitched beneath her, every word stretching into the unknown. Clara felt like she was standing on a precipice of a deeper understanding, every heartbeat echoing a question she didn't yet have an answer for. As the crowd shifted, whispers of disbelief and curiosity intertwined within them. But Clara knew her time was running short. If she wanted to leave a mark, she had to follow through. Will you join us in this fight? She asked, nervously scanning the faces. The question hung, thick with promise and possibility, as Clara waited for what felt like a lifetime for answers. Would this moment create a ripple effect, or would it all crash down? The crowd continued to murmur, but in that pause, Clara felt something shift for the first time. Something bigger than fear was stirring. But just when she thought the moment would resolve, another voice cut through all the noise, a voice bearing a weight she anticipated. Clara, are you willing to sacrifice everything for love? Her heart fell silent as she pondered the implications of that question. What was she prepared to truly lose? In that very moment, she stood on the edge of everything she had ever known. Clara's pulse raced as the weight of the question settled around her like thick fog. She stared out at the faces in front of her, a mixture of skepticism and hope swirling in their expressions. The hum of voices around her became a drone, fading into the background as her mind whirled. Was she really ready to sacrifice everything? The life she had built, the security she clung to? The nagging doubts crept back in, but she fought to chase them away. Ethan's grip on her hand tightened, grounding her amidst the chaos. Clara drew in another deep breath, feeling the air fill her lungs. A flicker of determination ignited within her. What is love if it doesn't challenge us? She found herself saying, her voice firming with each word. What is love if it doesn't push you to become the best version of yourself? Marissa scoffed, her harsh laugh echoing through the crowd. Best version? You think that's even a thing? Love isn't some fairy tale, Clara. It's messy and it hurts. Why would you risk everything for it? Those words stung, slicing through her heart like a serrated blade. Was love truly that burdensome? In her gut, she knew the answer. Love is messy, but it's also beautiful. It's the moments of laughter that break the silence, the hand-holding that mends wounds, the shared dreams that paint a future. The crowd seemed to hold its breath. Some faces softened, while others remained unconvinced. Clara took a step forward, drawing strength from the girl she had glimpsed earlier. I refuse to let fear win. Yes, love can hurt. But when it's real, when it's authentic, it can also heal. A wave of noise rippled through the crowd, a collective gasp of recognition. Clara felt electricity pulse through her, igniting hope within the uncertainty. Ethan moved closer, his presence radiating calm. Clara, every moment shared with you has colored my world. You taught me that love isn't just about what you gain, but what you're willing to give. He nodded slowly, his eyes locked with hers. I don't care about the scars of the past. I want to build a future with you, come what may. Tears stung her eyes as she faced the crowd again, emboldened. You see, when we lean into love, we sometimes open ourselves to the greatest risks. But isn't that what makes life worth living? What kind of person would we be if we let fear dictate our actions? James, who had earlier expressed his concern, stepped forward once more. But what if it all falls apart? What if you get hurt? His voice trembled, and the vulnerability he wore so openly struck a chord in her heart. Clara felt an ache deep in her chest. Then we get back up. We learn. We grow. Love isn't about avoiding pain. It's about facing it together. Every heartache deepens the capacity for joy. A low murmur echoed as Clara felt the crowd shift, attention stealing back to her words. The hesitation that blanketed the air was slowly dissipating. Let us stop worrying about the what-ifs, she encouraged, her voice rising, echoing with power she had never realized was within her. Let us be brave enough to ask the what could be yes. Let us embrace the messiness of love and create something beautiful from it. As a few hands clapped, Clara felt her heart swell. It was a small victory, but more than that, it felt like a spark. Will you stand with us? Will you choose love over fear? Clara's heart pounded with anticipation, her eyes scanning the crowd. In that moment, she caught sight of the young girl again, her eager face shining with encouragement. But just as she thought hope was igniting, Marissa cut through the spirit that momentarily lifted their souls. And what if love betrays you? What if it's not enough? Clara felt the air chill, the optimism she had carved beginning to fray. The uncertainty of the future loomed heavy. But as she looked at Ethan and the gathered crowd, she sensed a shift in understanding that they were all in this together. Then we face it together, Clara shouted, the conviction in her voice echoing back at her. We refuse to let betrayal dim our fire. As the applause grew louder, she knew she was standing at a crossroads. The question lingered in the air like an unspoken promise. What choices lay ahead? Would the crowd find the courage to hold that love? And if they did, what would become of Clara and Ethan's bond? Would they endure the trials ahead, or would the shadows of fear overtake them once more? As excitement clashed with uncertainty, Clara realized the true journey was just beginning. Clara's heart raced as the applause faded, and silence wrapped around her, thick and heavy. She scanned the crowd, searching for any sign of change. The air felt electric, a mix of hope and fear swirling like a tornado. And yet the weight of Marissa's question still hung over her like a storm cloud. Ethan stood beside her, his supportive energy radiating like the warmth of the sun. "You were incredible," he whispered, his voice low but strong. She fluttered a shy smile at him, her heart softening. But just as quickly, doubt crept back in. What if they weren't strong enough to face the challenges ahead? She turned, catching sight of the young girl who had inspired her earlier. The girl was beaming, holding tightly to a colorful drawing she had made, two figures, hand in hand, surrounded by bright flowers. Clara felt a pang of connection. Was that how love looked to her? Joyful and uncomplicated? "Do you think they understood?" Clara asked Ethan, her voice trembling slightly. "Did I make a difference?" He squeezed her hand, his eyes sparkling with belief. "You lit a fire today. People don't change overnight, but you planted a seed. They'll think about your words." Just then, Marissa stepped forward again, her expression challenging. "You think just saying those words will change anything? Love isn't a fairy tale, Clara. It's full of disappointment." The hurtful bite stung, and Clara's breath hitched. She could feel the heat rising in her face, but this wasn't the time to crumble. But what if it is a fairy tale? What if it can be beautiful and meaningful? She paused, daring to believe her truth. "It starts with us within our choices, right?" Marissa rolled her eyes, but the crowd had grown quiet, their expressions wavering between skepticism and intrigue. Clara pressed on, her voice gained momentum. "Love can hurt, but it can also heal our worst wounds. It's the moments that make us feel alive. Together, we stand a chance." James stepped in again, a hint of vulnerability in his posture. "You're right, I guess, but are we really ready to open ourselves up to all that? We've been burned before, then we learned to love differently," Clara replied, her confidence building. "We create bonds stronger than our pain. Love isn't just about bliss, it's about honesty and support. It's real." The crowd shifted, eyes darting among each other. Clara could see faces soften, a flicker of hope igniting among them. Maybe they were beginning to resonate with what she said. Ethan turned to the crowd, his voice steady. "Standing here today, we have a choice. Love can be a risk, yes, but isn't it also a reward? Together, we can learn from our pasts and build something worth fighting for." The murmurs intensified, uncertainty battling with curiosity. Clara felt the ground beneath her feet solidifying, a sense of purpose swelling inside her. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was a shared journey towards forgiveness and hope. But just as optimism filled the air, the young girl stepped forward, clutching her drawing. "I believe love can be magical," she exclaimed, innocent and full of hope. "If we're brave enough to believe it." And her words hung in the air, the crowd dipping into a shared contemplation. Clara's heart leapt, but as she looked back at Marissa, the darkness lurking in her eyes reminded Clara of the fight still left to be waged. "Will you choose to stand with us?" Clara repeated, throwing open the invitation, but this time it felt more powerful. "Will we light the way forward or shatter in fear?" The applause resumed, steadying her nerves, but within her, uncertainty still lurked. What would happen after this moment? How would she and Ethan navigate the challenges that lay ahead? And what about Marissa? Would she hold on to her doubts, dampening their flame? As the crowd contemplated their next steps, Clara realized that the hardest parts of their journey were yet to come. But there, under the weight of anticipation, she felt a flicker of belief that love might just be strong enough to heal their wounds. Would they all dare to step into the unknown together? Would Clara and Ethan's bond be tested in ways beyond their control? As the crowd fell quiet, the answers felt tantalizingly out of reach, and anticipation began to hang in the air once again. Clara felt the heat of applause wash over her like a warm wave, but beneath that wave lay layers of trepidation. The faces around her were filled with questions. And as the echoes of her speech faded, she could practically hear the cogs turning in their minds. She turned to Ethan, who stood solid beside her, but even his unwavering presence couldn't fully drown out her insecurity. Did it really make sense? She whispered, anxiously biting her lip. I'm afraid they'll forget what I said by tomorrow. Ethan grinned. What you spoke about echoed what so many feel. It was raw, honest. It matters. His fingers entwined with hers, grounding her frazzled thoughts. But she felt a shiver of doubt. Would the crowd embrace this new possibility, or would they dismiss it like so many other fleeting conversations? As the applause faded, people began to murmur softly. Clara turned her attention back to the girl with the drawing. The girl stood there, eyes wide with excitement, clutching that piece of paper like it held the answers to life's biggest mysteries. What is your name? Clara called out, her voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. Lila. The girl answered, radiating pure joy. Clara felt her heart swell. I showed everyone that love can be magical. That's beautiful, Clara replied, feeling a glow spread warmth in her chest. Lila's innocence contrasted sharply with Marissa's skepticism. You have a gift, Lila. Never lose that belief. In that moment, she realized Lila represented the very hope she fought to inspire, pure, unguarded, and full of potential. She caught Marissa's eye. The woman's expression remained stony, and Clara's resolve hardened. The fight wasn't just against the doubts of others. It was against the doubts and fears that lived within herself. Love is not without challenges, Clara stated, her voice firm yet gentle, addressing Marissa directly. It's messy and complicated, yes, but it also strengthens us. Sometimes, we need to lean into our struggles, not shy away from them. Marissa sighed, arms crossed, and the crowd, sensing a shift, leaned in closer. Clara's heart pounded, a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her. She knew they were at a crossroads. They could embrace vulnerability or retreat into their shells. Let us not run from love's complexities. Let us talk about them. Let us empower one another, Clara urged, looking around the circle of faces, some eager, some uncertain. Love grows when we nurture it together. We can't pretend hurt doesn't exist, but we can choose how we support each other through it. James spoke up again, this time with challenge rather than hesitation. But what if we choose poorly? What if trusting each other leads us right back to heartbreak? Clara felt Jonathan's tightening grip on her hand just as her mind flickered to her own past entanglements, prickly and painful. But that wasn't what mattered now. She needed to focus on the present. She needed to shift the narrative. Then we learn, she replied. Every misstep can become a stepping stone toward understanding ourselves and each other better. We're in this together, and together, we can learn how to love in healthy ways. As she spoke, Clara noticed that even Marissa was beginning to soften. She observed the way the crowd came alive, how their body language shifted subtly in favor of Clara's message. This spark of hope turned the air electric again, resurrecting Clara's faith in collective change. But just when it seemed that synergy might blossom, a harsh voice cut through, slicing the moment like a knife. Why should we trust you? You don't even know what love really looks like. The crowd gasped at the accusation, eyes darting back to Clara. Her heart sank again. The battle was nowhere near over. Maybe you're right, she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. But I'm willing to try. Are you? As that question hung in the air, Clara could almost taste the anticipation again, like the moment before a storm. This was it. Would they rise to the occasion, or continue in fear? And as those burning questions echoed back at her, Clara prepared herself for whatever truths would lay bare in the coming days. Could she hold on to her vision while navigating everyone's doubts? The answer waited just out of reach, heavy with possibility. Clara took a deep breath, her heart racing as she stood before the crowd, feeling every pair of eyes on her. This was the moment of truth, and she could either collapse under pressure or summon every ounce of courage she had. With Ethan's warmth beside her, she felt stronger, or was it determination that surged forth? Listen, she called out, her voice cutting through the growing tension. Maybe I don't have all the answers. I'm still figuring it out. But if we don't open up about love, its messiness, its challenges, how can we ever find our way to healing? The murmur of the crowd shifted again. Clara focused on the young girl, Lila, who smiled back at her earnestly. That smile ignited something deep within Clara, The innocence and hope radiating from Lila was a reminder of why she had taken this stand in the first place. Love is messy, people know that, she continued, heart pounding fiercely. But it's real, and it's worth fighting for. Isn't that what we all crave? Connection? Understanding? A chance to grow? The crowd listened intently. Clara could see their expressions begin to soften, even the skeptics, including Marissa. A flicker of recognition passed through some faces as they considered her words. Maybe they were beginning to understand. Ethan squeezed her hand tighter, and she felt his unwavering support. Very few people get the chance to stand up for what they believe. Clara is showing us that love can break barriers, he added, his voice strong and steady. The crowd shifted, uncertain yet intrigued. Do you know how easy it is to hide, to let judgment dictate your actions? Clara continued, her resolve crystal clear. I felt that fear. I've seen it cloud lives, fear of rejection, fear of standing up for love amid whispers and sneers. But today, I stand here with Ethan, ready to embrace whatever comes next, together. The weight of her words lingered, reverberating through the ether as a hush fell over the crowd. Clara took a step forward, courage rising like flames within her. Every single one of you has love stories that impact who you are. Why don't we talk about them? Why don't we share our truth? A spark ignited in the crowd. It was small at first, but began to spread. People exchanged hopeful looks, curiosity bubbling within. Clara saw James nodding his head, and even Marissa's expression had shifted from defiance toward contemplation. You may think you know us, Clara said, addressing the murmurs directly. But how often do we truly see one another? What if we stripped down the layers of prejudice and allowed kindness to guide us instead? What if you chose to celebrate love when you see it, rather than tearing it down? Words won't fix everything, Marissa finally said, her tone showing a hint of vulnerability. Life isn't that easy. Clara smiled, feeling the tremor of connection. I know it isn't easy, but little by little, if we allow each other grace, we can change the narrative together. Love is powerful, just look around. People are drawn to its warmth. So why don't we choose to be part of the light? The crowd fell silent, mulling over what she had just shared. Clara's heart flew as she noticed nods of agreement like waves in a vast sea. Hesitation was beginning to recede. Love takes courage, Clara continued, her voice rising with passion. And courage begets connection. Let us build a society where love isn't judged, but celebrated. There was the energy in the crowd had shifted. Clara could feel the undercurrents of hope, realization mixing with her fervor, creating a palpable atmosphere of possibility. A few people in the crowd began to clap softly, sparking a small applause that grew steadily louder. Let us take a step together today, Clara said, enthusiasm bubbling at the opportunity. Let us promise to embrace love in all its forms. Let us choose hope over despair, understanding over judgment. Their applause filled the air like a warm embrace. Clara felt tears sting her eyes, a mix of disbelief and joy swelling in her chest, igniting a fierce commitment to this cause. Ethan looked at her, his eyes brightening, reflecting their shared journey, their triumphs and trials, their love. In that moment of connection, Clara realized that they were not just two individuals fighting for love. They were representatives of anyone who had felt unseen, dismissed, or fragmented, seizing hope and brightness with both hands. Together, they would weather the storms of judgment and prejudice. The road ahead wouldn't be simple, but love was a mighty force that as Clara and Ethan stepped forward, hand in hand. They knew their story, a story of love, courage, and resilience, had only just begun. Shouts of encouragement rang out, and whispers of hope danced through the crowd like cherry blossoms in spring. Clara held on to the feeling tightly, knowing they were ready to embrace whatever came next, and maybe, just maybe, they could inspire change far beyond their small town. It was time. Clara took a deep breath. Let's rewrite our story together. And with that, the applause swelled, echoing into the sky like a promise resounding, healing, and utterly transformative. If you believe in their journey and want to follow more inspiring stories like this, you need to subscribe right now. This is the moment to show your support. Do not wait, not even one more second. Hit like to feed the algorithm and comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. And please share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let's spread the message of love and courage far and wide.